Hello everyone and welcome to another Gunsmith video, and I have to start with an apology. Basically, I fired up the recording the other night and thought, you know what, let's get some more Gunsmith made because I haven't touched it in a little while. And yeah, I'm dead keen to continue and get further in this. I recorded roughly an hour and a half's worth of footage, which involved many stupid things, which I'll get to in a moment. Got to the end of the video and realised that the microphone part of the recording for some reason was either not switched on or had failed during the recording. So I had an hour and a half's worth of footage with absolutely no voiceover whatsoever. So this video is going to be somewhat different. This is going to be me providing a little bit of context and a bit of after or post-recording commentary, if you will, where I just sort of explain roughly what's happened. And actually, in the end, there wasn't a huge amount that happened in this one. I actually spent a good chunk of this almost relearning or learning how the global stock worked. And it took a little while to do that. And then it became more about re-engineering and redesigning our factory for 9mm ammo. So the biggest problem I had at the start here, as you can see, I'm mucking around here, is for whatever reason, I could not get the automatic rule for the gun cotton to go into the global stock. No matter what I tried, no matter what variant I tried, I could not get it to automatically put the gun cotton into the global stock as soon as I left the factory. I could make it work while I was there. Well, it was a bit finicky, but for some reason it just wouldn't work. Every time I went back to the other factory, you can see me here flicking between the factories and kind of getting very confused. Now, in the end, I did manage to work it out, but only after several minutes of Googling and going on to the Gunsmith discussions on Steam. And it turns out that you have to let a factory week finish for the report to decide how many gun cottons you are producing in a week. And then once that works out, then across a week, you will then be delivered the amounts. As you can see here, as we fast forward, as I rotate, you can see 605 gun cotton has been produced in that factory week. And what will happen now is that when we're in that new factory, passively the other factory will produce 605, and across the day it will get that 605 will get delivered to you in increments across a day. So I was like, right, okay, so that fixes that problem. Now in my head I'm thinking, is that actually enough for, you know, for a really ramping up 9mm production? I'm thinking to myself, do I need a second factory to produce more gun cotton? Do I need to do something about the existing factory and try and make it even more efficient, even though I think it's pretty close to being as efficient as I can make it? But in the end, I thought, you know what, we've made it work. Let's just get on with the job of redoing this factory here that you can see. So at the moment, I'm just kind of flicking between. I can see right now that the numbers are going up. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. You should see that go up to 2,600 or something along those lines. He says confidently. I'm pretty sure that does go up automatically at some point. And we'll see that number jump up. And then it gives me confirmation that, right, okay, the automation rule is now working. It's doing its thing. And we're happy and we can crack on. There you go. It did go up. Didn't go up by as much as I wanted it to, but it went up nonetheless. So now that we've got that sorted, now it's about how and what I do to this little part of the factory to make this a purely 9mm ammo production facility. Now, there's several issues that I have to deal with. One, as you can see, I'm still farting around trying to look at the gun cotton. And you have to remember as well that what you're watching here is me talking and playing and believing that my voice is being captured when actually it's not. And I don't find out until the end of the recording. But what I basically do is I decide to leave one part of the production line running because there is a huge surplus of 9mm. I can't remember what stage it is. It's that machine. You can just see at the bottom of your screen there, just above the equipment in the construction. You can just see sort of half the machine. I think I do click on it at some point. And basically there was just a huge surplus. And when I was going back through this, I just sort of suddenly realised just how inefficient this entire process was. So it did need a big redesign anyway. And in the end, what I decided to do was allow this part of the process that you're looking at now, so this sort of first part of the process, as soon as it goes through the shaker, to complete and use up all resources that it had currently got to, and then sort of pull the plug and redesign that first part, and then leave the second part of the process where it actually makes the 9mm bullets, where it's combining with the gun cotton, for example, and allow that to finish so that we've still got some production of 9mm ammo actually going on. So now that we've kind of done that, as you can see now, I'm flicking through the machines and I'm just checking, is there any 9mm punch left, is there any brass sheets left, and as you can see there isn't, so I now begin the destruction of that first phase of the construction or the production of the 9mm ammo. So at this point I've sort of got an idea in my head as to what I want to do with it, but I'm well aware that I'm effectively going to be having to start from scratch because I need to understand the timings with all this, and as you would have seen if you've watched this series so far, for some reason on this game, and I don't know why this game, and I'm not a stupid person, I'm fairly decent at maths, for some reason this game just gives me complete brain fade whenever I start trying to work out in my head the connotations and the production timelines and the crafting and the outputs. For some reason I just get myself into such a kerfuffle and I just can't work it out at all, so I don't really know why that is. But I think I get there in the end. I think I do eventually get there. Now, you're about to see, I think I do click on it at this point. Come on, don't let me down. Don't let me down. Click on that machine. Click on that machine. Don't do it, Welch. Come on. Your mouse is hovering. You know what? There you go. Right. Now you can see. Right hand side there, you can see how many units of 9mm rounded in there that we've got. That's going to take a while. That is going to take a long time to clear that down. So what I do is I effectively leave that part of the process alone, combine it with some more gun cotton, which I attach to the machine in the middle there, which I think I'm doing now, and effectively I just leave that running while I'm doing everything else, just to keep that 9mm production going. Now, what I don't take into account at this point while I'm doing all this is the fact that this part of the process is also quite inefficient, and has, even if I drop the chemical dispensing speed there to 2 seconds, that's actually not good enough, because what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to dispense 1 every second from the other machine there, which I think is the one where it gets the rounded, whichever that machine is there that we were just looking at. That was chucking out at 1 every second, whereas the gun cotton was coming out 1 every 2 seconds. So there is an immediate imbalance there straight away, but we don't pick that up until later on. But it's kind of like, whatever, we'll leave that running. It's going to be making some 9mm ammo. It's not making it at any kind of pace, as you can see, but nonetheless there is a steady sort of trickle through of the 9mm ammo. Then of course I need to just revise my worker, what do you call them, waypoints, pathing, whatever you want to call them, patrols, that's the word. So I just tweak those a little bit just to make sure that they're, you know, not wandering aimlessly around the factory floor, and they're just going through the parts that I need them to. So we just tidy that up, and now we're kind of ready. Now we're ready to try and rebuild this in a much more efficient way. And yeah, spoiler alert, I think I do a decent job eventually. It takes me a while to get there. My maths lets me down on several occasions, but I think over time, as I'm building it, I think I do get it down to a really neat timescale. So the first part of this is to build this here roll dispenser as we skip forward to the point where I finally realise that the chemical dispenser needs to be pumping out 2 of these things to match up with the other machine, so that we're effectively there running at 1 every second. So yeah, and as you can see on the left hand side, I've skipped forward here just because it did take me a long time to go through everything, but I have effectively built out on the left hand side the first part of this production line, which is exactly the same as it was before. It just, the layout is slightly different, but all the machines that we saw before that I deleted are sort of back in there. I've also researched the fast belts, and I begin to toy with the idea of, do I use those? Disappointingly with those, it doesn't actually give you a value for how much quicker they are. So I'm kind of having to go, you know, I think I actually test it here. I sort of eyeball this and look at how quick that belt is, and then just quickly replace it with a faster belt, and then go, yeah, okay, that's a lot quicker. But of course you don't have a numerical value, and everything in this game around production chains is based on numerical values and about how quickly machines input things, output things, craft things, etc. So to not have a value as to how fast that speed will carry items is a little bit frustrating. Maybe I'm overthinking it, I don't know. But effectively what I was thinking was, do I therefore need the fast belts in here? Will that speed anything up? And my thinking eventually was that I needed to just play a little bit of it's just trial and error, because what I need to get to is a point where those belts, the travel time on those belts is 1 second. Because if it's quicker than that, if it's actually outputting... Actually, hang on a second. No, it doesn't matter, does it? No, it doesn't matter, because it's... The speed of the belt is irrelevant. It's the output of the machine previous that's the deciding factor. So actually, it is going to be faster regardless, isn't it? Now that I think about it. Because actually, it's going to be chucking the item into the next machine that much quicker and speeding up the process, but it's not going to be speeding it up because it can't physically speed up the speed at which it gets there, because it's ultimately dictated by how quickly the machine before chucks it out. So yeah, no, I think that's fine. I think that's I think in my head I kind of worked that out, so we're all good there. So what we're doing now is we're building the sort of first part of it, and I actually, in the end, I actually bin this idea off. I'm trying to think of a way of making this, and as per usual, I'm getting very OCD about these damn belts because they don't quite snap the way I want them to, and I want to make them nice and tidy. Eventually I get there, as you've seen in other videos. I'm always playing around with these damn belts. They're so frustrating, but you know, once they look good, it is definitely what you want to see. In the end, I actually changed my mind, because we get this entire process all the way down to the very end. We connect everything up, everything's kind of working. I think we test it as well. And then it suddenly dawns on me, why am I not splitting this process out in a similar way to what I'm doing in the chemical factory that we've got, the third factory, where it's producing the gun cotton? Why do we not split that process out? And we can just have rows and rows of machines doing that first part, and then have the second part where it's actually producing and it's combining with the gun cotton to create the gunpowder, and actually making the bullets and producing them and putting them in boxes, etc., etc. So I thought to myself, well, why don't I do that? Why am I trying to put the process from start to end in one corner? Because from a space point of view, it doesn't really make sense, because part of this game, part of the beauty of this game is that kind of space puzzle, isn't it? It's laying everything out in a better way, not only the efficiency of the actual machines chucking things out at certain times and making sure that one isn't faster than the other and everything else, but it's actually where you put the machines on the factory floor and utilizing the space as best as you can. Now, what I'll do now is I'll just skip forward to that point where I suddenly have a bit of a brainwave, and we actually adjust things, and I think make a really good decision in the end, because this is going to make this particular factory just way more efficient. Alright, so we've skipped ahead now to a little bit later in the video where I've actually laid out the machine. So effectively all I've done is, again, very, very similar to the previous factory, where we've just got straight lines of these machines. Now, the brass machine, the brass roller, as you can see, is right up against the wall just in front of us there, just in front of the splitters that I'm putting in. That just is its own process. There's absolutely no need for it to be anywhere near the main factory floor. That can just be hidden in a corner somewhere and just produce what we need it to. Now, if you remember from previous videos, that brass roll thingy, it dispenses 75 brass sheets, I think it is, at the rate of 1 a second. And we've adjusted it so that basically, as soon as it's finished the first 75, the next 75 will come out. So once that first 75 seconds counts down, as long as there are brass sheets in stock, or the brass roll, sorry, it should therefore just be a continuous stream of brass sheets being fed into that recycler, and then it will get the dispensers at the start of the next part of the process will just instantly push them out into the next bit. And as you can see, I'm just turning around. I don't think I've ever used these things, you know, this three-way thing into one. I'm sure I've had situations and scenarios before where actually using this would have been so damn useful, and for some reason I just didn't know it existed. I don't know, I just never clicked it, never tried it, or what. But actually it turned out to be really useful. And what I've also done, I worked out eventually, using my amazing math skills, that having 6 of these machines, or 6 sort of production lines being fed by 3 dispensers at the very top of it, is the right speed, for the brass sheets to be equally distributed amongst all of those machines at the speed of 1 every second throughout the entire process. So effectively you get 1 brass sheet every second in the dispenser, and then it goes into that machine, so it goes 1 either side, so each one of those top 2 machines gets 1 every 2 seconds, and then it will dispense out every 2 seconds, and then it goes into the next machine, and so on and so forth. I think I've explained that right. I may have explained that wrong, but effectively what I've done is I've got those machines to spit out whatever it is they spit out in their machines, to get to the point where at the end of it we should have a very steady stream of almost 1 a second coming out before it heads into the final part of this part of the process, before we then throw them into recyclers, and then, you know, sort of move the production phase to a different part of the factory where we will again use dispensers to push out what this part of the process is creating. I must admit, it's very weird doing this type of video. I hope you guys are enjoying. I hope you guys you know, don't hate this type of content. This isn't what I'm going to be doing long term. Let me just make that abundantly clear. This is purely just because of my fuck up that we're doing it in this way. So yeah, then this thing came up. I don't know what this was, and I don't think I really took into account what it was, because it says executioner and target, and I was thinking, shit, are we just about to execute one of our employees because he's snitching on us? And the only option here was to click continue, and I was looking around to see what happened, and nothing was really happening. So I don't actually think I followed up on this either, so I need to remind myself to go and check off the back of this video whether or not that particular employee has just been executed and actually still works for me or not. And yeah, I'll go over there and check the henchmen, and they're kind of just chilling in there, not really doing anything. And yeah, so I don't really know what that was. But anyway, so we continue on with the build here. So everything's running at a nice steady speed of 1 per second. I did have a bit of a dilemma here though, because of the way in which these machines, because it spits out that way. I'm thinking, oh, it's going to clash with those other machines. I'm going to have to maybe go elevated or something like that. But in the end, I think I just rotate the machines around and make them go the other way. And it solves the problem. And in the end, the beauty of this part of the production line is that once it gets through those first 12 machines, or first 2 machines in each part of its production line, so you've got the lines of the 2. As soon as it gets into those heaters and coolers and into the shaker, there's no craft time with any of those. They literally just run straight through them, and it doesn't slow them down. So that's where the fast belts will actually really come into their own, because it's just going to throw these things around the production line and just get everywhere where it needs to, just a whole lot quicker. So yeah, so that's what we're doing right now. As you can see, I'm just adjusting the where everything is kind of going, and then before too long we end up with this. And this is kind of what the final part will look like. And then I'm like, okay, right, now do I run the belts all the way round into that splitter you can see just to the left there where the shaker is? And I'm thinking, no, that won't really do. That would look a bit rubbish. So what I do, I end up deleting those and throwing in a splitter there, just because it just makes more sense to have it there. So again, OCD kicking in because I know it's not aligned. So here we go again, just trying to be almost too clever for my own good. I'm pretty sure I fail at this attempt. Or was that going to go in? No, that's going to go in. And then that means I don't need that 2-way splitter, and we can have the shaker. I can't remember where I end up putting it. Do I put it there? I think I might put it back where it was. Or no, I don't. I put the recycler on that side, don't I? Yeah. And yeah, this kind of brings to an end the entire process. So this ends up working really, really well. I think I pretty much ended the video on this point, because it had been a bit of a slog to get here, quite frankly, with the amount of problems I'd had, and I was investigating the global stock issue at the very start. That was literally 25 minutes of me trying to work that out, and eventually I did. So that was a long part of this video. Often when I make videos on this game, I tend to think, you know what, I'll fire it up. I'll have a quick 40-minute recording on Gunsmith. We'll do some stuff and make a video out of it. And then I forget just how finicky this game is, and how much this game sort of tries to push you and almost rewards you for being ultra efficient with everything that you do, and it almost forces you down that route, and therefore everything becomes much more finicky and it takes more time. But ultimately it is very rewarding, so I don't particularly mind that, but it is very unique in that way. There aren't too many other games outside of maybe Factorio is a little bit like that, where you feel like you should be more efficient with your build and your spacing and your efficiency. So yeah, so here we go then. So now we just connect them up to all the line controls. In the end, I decide to split them out again, just for almost purely aesthetic reasons, to be brutally honest. I start again with all these to make sure that these guys on the right hand side are only controlling the stuff on the right. And yeah, we're kind of there. Yeah, so all we're doing now then, we're just going to finalise the pathing and get all the belts in. I think there was a couple that didn't connect up properly, which I don't pick up until after I start the test and turn all the machines on. But ultimately, it took a long time to get here, but I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. I think this is going to be really, really good. In the next video, I plan to really ramp this up and turn this entire factory into a 9mm production line. And it's one thing that sort of really struck me when I was contemplating that decision as to whether to make this entire factory all about 9mm bullets. It suddenly dawned on me just how many factories I could end up having if I was to be that guy that wants to create a production line for every single item in this game. Because you think the number of different bullets in this game, we've not even touched explosives or weapons or vehicles yet. And it feels like it's been a long slog. I don't know what the time is on this particular save so far, but it's got to be closing in on 10-12 hours, I would think, of playtime to get to this point so far. Now, of course, if I was to play this game again, I would probably be a bit more efficient from the get-go and have to make less tinkering changes because I'd have maybe a better idea of how to make things more efficient from the get-go. But even so, the thought of just making a factory and a production line for every single item on this game is absolutely mental. So yeah, if you're watching the series expecting me to do that, I'm absolutely not going to be creating a factory line for every single item on this game. I want to do the big ticket items. I'll probably do another bullet line potentially, but then I want to get into sort of explosives, weapons, and vehicles. So I do plan to do that on this channel. I absolutely do. I want to see that through. I've kind of started this now. I want to see it through. I don't want to leave it unfinished. But as you can see now, you know, we're almost at 1 a second going in there. There's a little bit of a gap with things, but ultimately it is flying through. I think there might be one, or did I fix all of them now? Or did I have... No, I did fix all of them. So yeah, there you go. That was a very different Gunsmith episode today. Apologies for the style that it had to take. I will make sure next time that my video is working, or my recording is working properly. So yeah, thank you very much everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment down below on what you thought of this style of video, and whether you'd like to see me do similar content like this in the future, or whether you prefer me doing the live commentaries as I'm playing. So yeah, thank you very much everyone. Don't forget to hit that sub button for more, and I'll see you all in episode number 11.